actually see like out to Four Peaks today, which the brewery and the famous beer is named after. You got Pinnacle Peak up there. Good afternoon, hospitality professionals all over the world. Welcome to Hotel Valley Ho in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm Abby Betts, I'm the Director of Sales. I want to take a minute to welcome our HPN associates, everybody tuning in from their computer screens, your phones, your tablets, and those sitting right here in the room with us. In the room with us, you guys. This is a live, in-person meeting. First experience at a hybrid, and we are so happy to partner with our HPN associates as well as PSAV for a great trial run and experience to get meetings back into hotels. With that, take it away, Harold.
And thank you, Abby, for that warm welcome. We're thrilled to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another HPN Global Live webcast. My name is Harold Batiste, and we are coming to you live from the Hotel Valley Ho in downtown Scottsdale. That's right, Abby, who you just heard from, and our friends at the Hotel Valley Ho, they've invited us to their incredibly chic, cool, and iconic hotel to show our associates firsthand how they can execute meetings safely in today's environment. As you may be able to tell, I am participating from a remote location virtually, like many of you are. But what's great is that I do have an awesome co-host with me today, live at the Hotel Valley Ho. She is our Senior Vice President of Sourcing Operations, Miss Desi Whitney.
Hello, hey, Harold. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness, a live audience is actually clapping. That's amazing.
Well, so Des, I gotta be honest here. I'm a bit jealous that you have your own studio audience, and I'm just sitting here looking at a computer. I'd much rather be where you are.
We would much rather have you here too, Harold. So next time for sure. And you know, if I'm being honest, I feel like you should be a little jealous of me because this is really incredible and exciting. And it's just such a fantastic day to be having a meeting. We're getting together, we're talking. We haven't seen these faces in, you know, quite a while, certainly since February, March. And we're just so excited to be having a live in-person meeting and support our industry as we, you know, work towards moving things forward. So thank you for the introduction. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're up to today. So of course, we are having a live in-person meeting, and we are doing a Q&A portion at the end with our fabulous host, Hotel Valley Ho. We're so grateful to be here. And we're going to talk about things that went well and things that could be improved upon, although I can imagine there's nothing that, you know, that isn't going to go perfectly here today. And then we're also going to talk about what we need to do, you know, to arm our planners and our organization and industry into getting things back to, you know, whatever this new normal is for right now. And, you know, I told myself I wasn't going to use any of those cliched words, so I'm going to try harder. But we're collaborating today with the best and brightest minds to operate safe meetings. So I've got a couple of tidbits I want to share. This is with my lens on planning meetings. You know, certainly have executed a number of events in my past when things were the way they were before, and now what we're looking at with a new lens, you know, going forward, at least for a little while. One thing that I think is going to be the foundation of everything, both for attendees and for planners and everyone in between, is patience. And so we've had a couple of opportunities, you know, obviously this meeting today and then a few recent events as well, where patience was seriously the name of the game, and making sure that the attendees have patience and understand that, you know, the operation is going to look a little bit different, and then making sure that the planner has patience with, you know, the staff and also, you know, yourself, trying to put all these pieces together, literally speaking a brand new language that we're learning, right? Building the car as we drive it. And one of the things that I think is really important as you know, from the planning aspect is make a decision on what your parameters are and then over communicate it to the attendees. And I'm talking about all of the new and different things that you are providing for throughout the agenda. Now, hopefully you've, been comfortable enough and the city that you want to meet in is available so you can have a live in-person meeting. And then once you decide what those logistics look like, just really communicating out to everybody is going to be so fundamental. And my experience has been running through the agenda from start to finish with a ridiculously fine-tuned comb and really thinking about all of the different things that we need to consider as we move forward, like high traffic areas, knowing that in general, there's going to be a slower pace with everything, certainly because of the physical distancing. Of course, we're all going to be space hogs for a little while. So knowing that actual space is going to be required and well thought out. And I've got a couple of examples. One, which is, let's think about the women's restroom. We know how when it's break time, the women's restroom just gets, packed, right? There's a huge line. Everyone's squeezed in this line. Well, now if you're physically distancing a women's restroom line, what does that look like from start to finish and making sure that you can accommodate the space and the time for that? And you could look at a coffee break in the same light where before we would let a general session out and hundreds of people would rush a couple of different stations. That's not necessarily a luxury that we have for this time frame. Kind of creative, right, on how we approach those things. I think elevators will be an interesting conversation as we look at trying to get, in a high-rise hotel, for example, a tremendous number of people down to the meeting space. We're all getting there at the same time. So these are the things that we definitely want to be talking about and collaborating with and, being creative, of course. I'm thinking about kind of like scheduled egresses and queued departures. You might even consider reservations. And then also looking at how you're flowing traffic and even using furniture and certainly rope and stanchion, although that's not super fun, but you can use furniture to guide and flow traffic in the way that you want it to. We're seeing a lot of plexiglass out there, right? So you get to decide as a planner if you want to include plexiglass and how you want to incorporate that. One gal I heard from this week had a fabulous idea because, let's talk about the masks, right? I'm not wearing a mask right now, but please know that I'm nowhere near anyone who is in 6 feet within me, but I miss seeing everybody's faces. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I love it when you see a smile and that really kind of lets you know where that person is at. And so maybe even a plexiglass in between, an individual appointment situation could be a fun way to see each other without those masks. Obviously, encouraging people to be outside, that's something that's going to be hugely adopted as we move forward. I hope that you're not in Phoenix, Scottsdale area. Sorry, Tracy. Right now, it's a little bit toasty, so the opportunity to be outside is a little bit more challenging, but I think that it can be accommodated. And then finally, kind of some really important thoughts that you want to consider before putting on the meeting and then communicating it to the attendees. What if someone does present with symptoms at your conference? What is your plan for that? Making sure that everybody knows what the plan is, and that's certainly your planning staff, absolutely the venue, and then your attendees as well. You would hate for there to be a situation where an attendee didn't know what the rules are and they, showed up and then they were disgruntled or upset, right, that they had to leave or, they were invited to leave, and that doesn't feel good. So making sure that you have your plan in place is going to be fundamental. And then enforcement and really partnering with your venue and know that all of these folks are just coming back to work. Some of us have had a chance to operate meetings and some of us haven't. And so those that haven't, we need to make sure that we're partnering with our, obviously our third parties, with our venues, that's hotels, convention centers, DMOs, hotel cells, and everyone getting involved and talking about, okay, and we did a great demonstration, I would say, of this meeting here, talking together and creating new and exciting ideas on, okay, how can we bring this group together in a safe way? So I mentioned we have got 25 people, we're having a live meeting, and then plus you at home, a virtual audience, which is very exciting. We've also got our virtual presenter there, my co-host, Harold. And I want you to know some of the safety precautions that we have implemented for this program. So first of all, I don't know if you'll notice, I don't have a mic and I don't have a lav. We actually have our camera as our microphone, which requires me to speak a little louder, but I'm all right with that. And then what that's doing for us today here is we don't have to share and pass microphones and touch anything after each other. And then it also kind of lightens the load on AV by not having to sanitize those pieces before the next panelist comes on.
Yeah, and Des, we can actually hear you fine, so that's an outstanding, and we probably can even hear our audience. So we have 25 there. Can we hear them?
Awesome. That's so good. So I'll put a little disclaimer out there for my next section here, which is that we're not lawyers. We're not attorneys. So if you need, actual legal advice, definitely seek your legal counsel. But a couple of things that we put in place that you're seeing well adopted by a lot of programs are, we put a waiver within the registration, clearly defined expectations on everything that the attendees would be accountable for in order to attend and participate in this meeting. We, had little forms, of course, upon arrival, making sure that people are thinking about, hey, if you have symptoms, first of all, stay home, don't even show up. But second, reminding them to think about those things, hey, gosh, I am feeling a little under the weather. Maybe I should go ahead and go home, those waiver reminders. We performed temperature checks this morning on all of the guests that came in, and we have a full house. So it looks like everybody passed the temperature check today, which is awesome. And then we're reminding everybody of the physical distancing. And certainly if you're up and about, you really need to wear your mask, and certainly encouraging hand sanitizer. We've got these fabulous kits that the hotel has, let's see if I can reach it here, that the hotel has provided for us, stay outside the box, which is definitely where HPN likes to be. And they've got some little hand sanitizers in here and, a water. This is a good demonstration, some snacks of a way that you could operate kind of a break that's just at your desk where it doesn't require a big group to get up at the same time. So that's pretty awesome. There, thank you so much. So I'll call that a static break, so to speak, which is something that we can all consider. And then we've got assigned seats in here today. So we printed up name cards. And the idea behind that today is when they leave and they just did a little bit ago and come back from lunch, they're going to go to the same seat. So they're minimizing the exposure by not, sitting in a seat of someone else that was just, in that spot. And then, of course, we physically distanced the buffet that was served at lunch. And then we put 3 people to a table based on this, the table size, which we can talk about in a minute. So lots of ideas, lots of collaboration, lots of creativity, and that's what we're looking for everyone to contribute as we do move forward. And we've got, certain protocols, of course, that our hotels and venues are putting into place. And we're going to talk to some folks today. So Harold, I'd love if you could take us into our next segment of panelists.
Yeah, so that's great info there, Desi. And I think the bottom line is that the group or meeting planner or organization, as much as the hotel has to have a plan, and I think some of our guests today are going to talk about that, the organization has to have a plan, just like we had to have a plan when we brought our team there to Hotel Valley Ho. So sure, let's get started, but I'd be remiss not to, before we get started, to give a heartfelt shout out to everyone in our beloved industry that has either been personally and or professionally affected by this incredible pandemic that we're dealing with now. It's really tough to put into words the decimation that is caused. It's been 6 months, and but I believe, and I'll say this confidently, I believe that travel, meeting, and events will be back. It'll be back stronger. We're starting to see the comeback now. Hopefully, the audience that's out there in your respective disciplines, you're starting to at least see some meetings come back. And for our hotel partners and suppliers out there, I encourage you to promote and kind of tout meetings that you're hosting. If you have a meeting that's coming up, next week, next month, talk about it as much as you can, because I think the more that the world sees hotels that are starting to have meetings, the more that I think we'll get back to it. And it's also the creative, cool things like we're doing today at Hotel Valley Ho. These are the type of things that will only help us come back faster. So that's my a small little soapbox moment there, but I felt that I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on that. So with that said, let's move to our first guest. And for our attendants, to the right, probably on your screen, our attendees, if you're on virtually, there's a chat box there. So we'll save some time at the end for some Q&A. But our first guest, he's the area director of sales and marketing for not only the Hotel Valley Ho, but also Mountain Shadows. Please welcome Mr. Jesse Thompson.
So good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesse, thanks for being with us.
They started with the whole legal spiel. I've heard that before I start talking.
Jesse, thank you so much for having us here today and welcome. We're obviously so excited and could not have done this without you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we'd like to talk a little bit about, the planning process with the hotel and just kind of sharing best practices on what you've done kind of on your end and obviously your sales experience and looking to welcome groups. And I know you've had a couple, which is exciting. So if you wouldn't mind just a few touch points on that.
Sure. We were lucky. We convinced our ownership back in March that was more towards April, I suppose, that we felt it was necessary to stay open. And I think that was probably one of our best decisions. That allowed us to utilize our staff and work our way through all these changes instead of everybody leaving and having to come back and figure it out really quickly and reopening a property. So we were able to get things like the plexiglass at the front desk up quickly. We were able to move all of our menus over the QR codes very quickly. We sat down as a team in different departments and said, what's the best way to action everything, to pivot, if you will. So we came up with a lot of great to-go programs. I think Easter was one of our first really big pushes for to-go. We served 900 to-go meals in a pickup basis. What else have we done? We've invested in these great machines that fog rooms and meeting space to clean them afterwards, social distancing stickers on the floors, we have these great red dots. We have a different color every day. Every team member, when they arrive on property, is checked for temperature, wellness. They go through a little briefing. So I think we've been well ahead of the curve. And that was, again, I think a big part of being open the whole time.
Definitely. Kudos to you on all of that. And of course you had to adapt quickly, right? And everyone's going through this experience and then you've got the backlog of hand sanitizer and all the other things that everybody was requiring in that moment. So I did have happy hour at Zuzu. That's the restaurant here on property last week. And they did a fantastic job. And what I saw, they actually put little hand wipe sanitizers on the table. And I hadn't seen that before. And I know some people are bringing their own. I'm not that thorough, but
those were a little bit meant for. There's some people that were a little extra cautious wiping off silverware before it could be used, because obviously somebody has to put it in a roll up and roll it up. So that was just a little extra touch for that. So.
And I like that, and I think that just as you're saying, it seems it's kind of like politics in this sense where some people are swinging pretty left and some people are swinging pretty right, and then there's everybody in between, and you're going to have your own opinion that you'll form about your comfort level with people, with sanitation, all of that.
We were very much an early adopter of following all the executive orders and to the T, the signs, the face masks, etc. And in a hotel environment, it's a public entity, so you're gonna deal with a lot of people from the left and the right. And there's a balancing act there, so you're absolutely correct.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Jesse, when you have your guests, and you mentioned you've got some that come from and have different levels of comfort with I guess cleanliness and just in general, what can the overnight guest at the hotel expect from a cleanliness as they they check in, and then they're going to walk to an elevator, then they're going to go to their room. They may try to order some sort of in-room dining or come down to a restaurant. I know you open with an overview, but can you get a little bit more granular in some of the things there at Hotel Valley Ho that overnight guests will see?
Sure.
From a cleanliness. Yeah.
We'll start with food and beverage service. We'll go backwards on that. In-room dining is now in a to-go format. We'll package plasticware and all condiments on the side. Everything is a drop and go, knock on your door, leave the bag outside, almost like you would as a to-go in a restaurant. That way we don't have anybody physically entering the room. From a cleanliness standards of the guest room, we do use these great Clorox fogging machines. We've removed all of the high-touch items in rooms. The typical book that has the in-room dining menu and everything else you can find at the property has been removed. We've put QR codes on the glass in the guest room, so people can pull up the web page they want for restaurant menu, pool menu, where the frequently asked questions. So that way, there's not less touch items. Obviously, as a marketing director, all of my marketing stuff has been moved out of guest rooms, which drives me crazy because we invested a lot in those things. But I think that'll eventually come back. What else? The Lysol machine, or excuse me, I call them Lysol machines. The Clorox machines are really cool. I'll show you a sample of one before I leave the stage as well. 1 hour time frames. We log everything in the kitchen and in housekeeping. Everything gets touched every hour, meaning not touched but cleaned. We have a person go around and check everybody. They keep a log of this, so we go a little bit extra than we really need to, but take it very seriously. What else can I tell you about it?
That's great. It's really awesome to hear about what's going on behind the scenes. And we all know, hotels had a high standard of cleanliness in the past, and now, of course, taking all these extra precautions, obviously, and kind of publicizing that so everybody's aware, and we're no longer, afraid or ashamed of having, people cleaning during your session and whatnot. In fact, I was almost going to say, like, hey, can we get someone in here to, demonstrate cleaning, because it makes you feel, obviously that hotels and venues are taking the right steps to keep us safe and keep, everything sanitized. I would love, so we didn't have a chance yet, but tell us a little bit about the hotel as a guest experience.
Sure. Well, Vallejo's been around since '56, so kind of an icon in the Scottsdale market, at least. We have a lot of different accommodation types here. We were just talking about it with a few people that have spent the night with us. Standard rooms in the historic, all the way up to 2-bedroom, two-floor lofts that overlook Camelback Mountain in downtown Scottsdale. So great collection of different accommodation options. We've seen a rise in length of stay from guests. So we have a lot of people coming from areas that they just want to escape. Well, we won't say California or Oregon, but places like that. But they want to come and vacation for, we're talking 30, 60, 90 days. And a lot of our residential products, both at Vallejo and Mountain Shadows, have full kitchens, washer and dryers. So these people can just come and set up shop and live here and escape for a while. So that's been a great market for us up to recently. And just to jump back, one item I wanted to talk about, which is not much different at a lot of properties, is housekeeping. That's something that travelers need to be aware of. If you haven't been on a business trip since February or March, housekeeping has changed dramatically. We don't want to be entering the room every day to clean your room. And I don't think most people want to have someone else in their room they don't know every day. So we try to clean the rooms on an every third day basis if they're here on a long-term stay. Most people traveling for groups are usually 2.5, 3 nights on average. So it's probably not a big deal. But if you need terry, linen, sheets, whatever it is, we can come and deliver it to you again on that to-go basis. We'll put a bag at the door, knock, and come get your supplies that we leave out front for you. So it's a little bit of a different, a lot of people used to love having their beds made from fresh every morning, but unfortunately, it's just a safety precaution we're taking, and a lot of hotels have embraced it. So
yeah. Well, Jesse, I love fresh linen new every day, so just keep that in mind. I'm just kidding. So let's move to the group customer here, Jesse.
Sure.
And again, our audience here is pretty diverse. Here, you have a mix of meeting planners. You have some of our hotel other suppliers that are here. I mean, again, we as an industry, at least we at HPN believe it's going to take us all as an industry to bring meetings back. But as you talk about the group customer, I want to make sure that it's been stated how many keys you have there at the hotel, and then what is your ideal group size, and thirdly, do you entertain buyout opportunities? That's 3 questions.
Well, let's talk about the size of the hotel first. We have 241 accommodations here. And if you would have asked me 6 months ago what my perfect meet and feed size group is, it would be 150. And we could probably still layer a couple of programs on top of that. Now, My sales team hates when I talk about this, but 75 seems to be the number for us. And I think a lot of what we've noticed is the larger competitors, the Westin Kierlands, the JW Marriotts, they're fishing in our pond, and now we're fishing in, let's call it Sanctuary or Hermosa's or smaller properties ponds now. It's just kind of shifted. So I think 75 would be ideal. We can definitely space people appropriately in our ballroom with 75 people, plus give them ample space for breakouts and meals, etc. We could probably still do some small board meetings on top of that. So our group ceiling before, we would entertain 200, 225 out of 241 rooms as our group ceiling, depending on obviously dates and demands. But now it's more, how do we get comfortable at 75 to 100 and really market differently?
Right.
Not that we won't market for group, but our biggest change in the paradigm is let's focus on transient and leisure. That's what's going to fill in the gaps now. And when group comes back, which it will, which we all hope it comes back sooner than later, but when it does, we'll layer that in and we'll start adjusting that business mix as we move forward and have some compression. So I think that answered the question about size. Yeah. The other question was, sorry, I talked so much.
Well, it's moved into we talked about the number of rooms. We talked about your ideal group size, and then you kind of answered the third question talking about buyouts. With right now, probably pre-COVID, you take a buyout, but now you've got to be able to safely operate a buyout. And pre-COVID, I remember, buyouts were a thing, especially for smaller hotels that were sub 300. A group would come in and take over a hotel. How does that work now in a post-COVID scenario?
We have a small core group of buyout clients that we do events with on an annual basis. Some of them are leisure focused, some of them are corporate focused. Unfortunately, what people are looking at now is buying out the hotel, regardless if they're going to use all the rooms, just for the social distancing aspect. And we're definitely open to that. When hotels are, averaging 30, 40, 50% occupancy at this time, when they're typically an 80, 90% occupancy range, we can do that. It's just going to cost people a little bit more. I think people are comfortable paying the additional fees for rooms that go unused. I would say that our biggest challenge at Vallejo and Mountain Shadows is we also have a residential component built into our hotels. We have full-time residents. So there are groups that want to shut the driveway down and say nobody can come in and off property, except for our attendees. We don't have that luxury, unfortunately, because we do have residents that live here. Now our residents are, it's usually second, third, fourth home residents. They're very open to staying off property if we ask them and give them enough advance notice and opt into that. So It really depends on the time of year. So we'll still do buyouts. Okay. The only challenge is if you were to fill all of the rooms, we would have challenges socially distancing in meetings environments. So depending on the type of meeting it is, it's a more socially based events going on off property, we can definitely work with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it back here to Desi here, but just one quick question in closing here. Again, audience very diverse. We've got a lot of meeting planners here. Just open-ended question. What advice do you give? You're area director of sales and marketing. You're very tenured. You've been around a long time. What do you tell a meeting planner who is on the fence on whether or not they can have their meeting in the next month, 2 months, 5 months, or not? What would you tell that? What would you tell that planner?
Well, first, I would reiterate the point that Desi made about over communicating with your team, with the hotel. There just needs to be a lot of communication. You don't want there to be surprises when they get here. You don't want people to feel uncomfortable. I think outside of communication, you can basically book a meeting anywhere in this country right now for 2 weeks from now. We don't want you to do that, but that's going to be a big change, I think, in the dynamic of, we watched the booking window of travel shrink over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And we've watched group slowly shrink in that planning window. I think now meeting planners know that they can pretty much pick up whichever property they want to book a meeting at. I know hotels are trying to hold steadfast on ADR. That was a lesson we learned 9/11 and 2008. And, don't drop rate. It's not going to increase demand. So I think a lot of long-term hoteliers have stuck to the rates. So, there's a lot of people out there that think, even though COVID's going on, we should get $89 room rates. It doesn't matter if it was normally $400 a night. So know that you're still going to pay a decent rate for the services you're going to get. But we would really appreciate longer lead times. I know it's hard to plan around, especially now, but it's hard to get restaurant reservations, spa reservations, things like that. When you have to socially distance, you have that much less capacity. So
going back to patients.
Correct. So
yeah,
if you can give us a longer window of time, we can definitely service the program better and make sure your attendees experience everything they want to experience while they're here.
Yeah, Jesse, that's going to be a good problem to have, though. I tell you, it's funny you said that. I've had probably 5 or 6 conversations with meeting planners that are in the corporate space who want to plan meetings, have meetings to plan. They just have not been given the green light as a company from a standard yet. Travel is banned from a company perspective, but they are eventually going to get a green light, and it's probably going to happen sooner than later. And then the booking window you speak of, I think traditional booking windows are going to go away, and you're going to see meetings that are going to happen fast, and they're going to need maybe that 40, 50, 100 rooms, within a 2-3 week time frame. So I think you, as well as I think all our hotel suppliers and partners, let's get ready for the storm, and I'm sure you'll welcome it, right?
We'll definitely welcome it, but there's a lot of things that we want to change in our operation to make sure we can, plan that quickly. We've already, I'm looking in the back of the room because my sales director is standing back there, but we've already started talking about, and I'm sure everybody in this room would love it, 1 to 2 page quick contracts. You don't want to run through 9 pages of terminology. We want those terms to be as loose as possible. Now, if you cancel the meeting on me 3 days in advance, there's going to be a penalty. But we are gonna try to figure out, what is that window? I mean, can we cancel the meeting 21 days in advance as long as it gets moved into the same year at the same profit margin? Sure. I mean, we just need to make sure that we don't schedule a staff and buy all our product and then cancel. So we're looking at smaller contracts, quick contracts, if you will. We're looking at again, the food and beverage. What can we easily produce, put out in a safe way? So coming up with packages with that. We already actually have quite a few of the packages built.
Good. We're ready to roll then.
Yeah, we're easier and quicker. That's what it's going to be. It's every time we go through one of these large cycles, and I don't necessarily call this a financial cycle, but it's similar to one. Everybody does more afterwards, and everything has to happen faster. So
that's it.
Let's make it simple to do business, right? We can appreciate that. Well, we have a dazzling presentation for you today on what the new sanitation process looks like. And so Jesse is going to demonstrate this fabulous, looking at it here on the floor, Clorox machine. It's Clorox Total 360, and it's pretty cool. So let's give you a look here.
Really fun machine, right? We're going to fog Desi. I won't really. It's what we use in the guest rooms and after meeting rooms leave. So we'll clean the chairs, the tables. We do a gentle fog, and I'm sure you can see it. Gives you a nice little layer of Clorox to kill all the germs on all the surfaces, and we have these at both of our properties now.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you so much. We are, once again, just so happy to be here and appreciative, and it was great to chat. Harold? Okay,
all right,
we're gonna
so go ahead, Des. I'm sorry.
A quick video while we work on getting our next panelist up here.
I was going to say, Jesse, I think you might have missed this spot, but we'll talk about that later. Okay.
So, obviously we've spent a lot of time together, and I don't know how much people are traveling or not, but I would love for you to tell everybody, from the arrival experience when you travel to Scottsdale. Obviously, you're going to fly into Phoenix Sky Harbor, to get to the airport. Can you touch a little bit about what that experience is like at the airport right now and the protocols that they've put in place to make travelers feel comfortable?
Absolutely. And I'll actually speak from experience. I flew out of Sky Harbor about 2 weeks ago. And the anticipation was kind of, you have those little nervous butterflies in your stomach for, trying something for the first time after such change. But I really felt good. The airport has done a great job. They've mandated, everyone is wearing a mask, a face covering, whether it's an employee or traveling public. They're very good about signage with social distancing. They actually have the audio at the airport. You don't realize that you're being talked to, but just reminding social distancing, the little stickers on the floors in those high traffic areas. One thing that was kind of different is the restaurants, of course, those of us that like to travel and maybe have a little something to drink prior or something to eat. That looks completely different now. Most of the restaurants, those that are open are kind of the to-go, kind of grab and go, if you will. And those that are open actually do have, the tables are social distance. You can sit down, have a meal, have a cocktail if you wish. And it's just a different experience. Another thing too with the transportation for Sky Harbor, it's not just the masks inside the airport. It's when you're riding the Sky Tram, when you're riding the rental car buses, and those are actually at limited occupancy as well. So it's, I believe, 15 people on a car for the train, for the Sky Tram, and then 10 people per bus to go to the rental cars. Okay. So they've done a really great job.
That's so interesting. And then, of course, Uber. I've taken one Uber since all this has happened, and there's a mask requirement. And as I understand it, they've got limitations on the number of people that they will accommodate. So before a group of us maybe try to pile into, an Uber, maybe not quite as many seatbelts, but they're not allowing that now and
Correct.
Being very mindful. Yeah. So I did pop over to Sky Harbor last weekend. I can't remember now. I did not fly, unfortunately, myself, but I was sending my son on a trip. And so just, I think that speaks volumes. I felt comfortable enough sending my son, on a flight, and my experience was similar. And I will say that the staff, the restaurants look a little different. I did find a place to get a cocktail, even though I wasn't flying, but it's a tradition, right? And a gentleman came out and really was enforcing some people that were not necessarily doing a great job and maybe hanging out in a space that they shouldn't be. And so I think that that's what we'll see going forward. And I'll kind of have to be flexible and comfortable with the fact that someone might tell you, hey, can you move over a little this way? Or, hey, can you put your mask on? And different rules.
The basic things, yeah.
The basics, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll add to that. And Tracy, hey, good to see you. Thanks for having us and being with us today. So it's interesting. I was in Sky Harbor maybe 3 weeks ago, three and a half weeks ago. And the one takeaway I thought that was great is that they were actually they had staff handing out masks. So if you didn't have a mask, if you left it on a plane, if you forgot it, you had a gentleman who was, had kind of like a wagon. He was pulling a wagon, and it was full of masks. And he's like, man, take one, take three. So that really was great from a commitment standpoint there. Quick question for you here. Talking Scottsdale in general, just for our audience, how many rooms do we have in Scottsdale? And if you do have some sort of a, dare I say, citywide event or an event that wants to come and needs multiple hotels, just for the audience, I know you've got big sporting events and you got a lot of things that go on in Scottsdale, but how many rooms do you have to accommodate a huge group?
Well, the nice thing about our destination, Harold, is that we don't have a convention center. We have just our beautiful hotels and resorts. Right. The largest one, guest room wise, is 750 guest rooms. And meeting space wise, our largest ballroom is just under 25,000 square feet. So yes, we do host those very large signature events like, the Waste Management Open, Barrett Jackson, those sort of things. But we don't have a center to to worry about. And then, you know, we're able to social distance with a lot of different properties with different size groups and hotel rooms.
Yeah. When it comes to Scottsdale, just being specific to the destination, other than, you know, obviously the weather is great. You got great golf. What in Scottsdale, in your mind, stands out as a differentiator when groups are considering destinations? What do you lead with as far as, hey, this is why you come to Scottsdale?
That one's an easy one for me. It's my favorite thing about our destination, and it's the Sonoran Desert. You know, that stoic saguaro cactus, you're not going to find that anywhere else in the world except our backyard in northern Mexico, right in the Sonoran Desert. So, you know, you don't have to be a total outdoors person to appreciate it, but it really is beautiful, whether you're hiking, mountain biking, doing Jeep tours, helicopter rides, hot air balloon. There's just so much to experience, and it's completely different than, you know, anywhere else in the world. It's a pretty special place.
And your mix for the destination as far as, you know, incentive, association, corporate, is there a mix that you can put your finger on, or a little bit of everything?
It's a little bit of everything, and definitely, you know, we like to think that we are really good with the incentive market because of our spectacular luxury hotels and resorts.
Great, thanks.
So Tracy, big question for you. Do you have a really awesome, exciting conference coming up potentially this December in Scottsdale?
You know, I'm not sure. I may have heard from a little birdie that there's something special coming in December, maybe to a property called the Omni.
Indeed.
Scottsdale Hotel Resort.
Yes.
Oh, we see it.
Indeed, there is. We are so excited. We announced last week or the week before, time is away from me, but we are hosting our HPN Global Annual Partner Conference this December 6th through the 9th at the fabulous Omni Mauna Lucia Resort and Spa with my favorite spa, Joya Spa, in case you need to get me a gift. And we couldn't be more excited to put on this live in-person event. And we're home for 20. We're bringing everybody home. We can't wait to spend time with each other, of course, networking. And please know that if you're a partner that can attend, our registration fee is significantly reduced this year to $11.75, and then the rate at the hotel is $2.19. And we're going to do a great job making sure that everyone feels safe and that we put a lot of different protocols in place. But we are really looking forward to experiencing Scottsdale in December.
And we're excited to have you guys here. So we're just very excited.
Thank you so much. And we are going to go ahead and take a little quick peek-see at what Omni Mauna Lucia has to offer. Thank you so much. Live audience, what do you think? Are you excited? Does that look beautiful?
Right. Good stuff there. That's outstanding. Can't wait to December to see all your faces there. All right. So our next guest here, I think I saw his face there. He actually is with Benchmark Resorts and Hotels. Mr. Paul Bashaw is our corporate director of global sales for Benchmark. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks, Harold. Thank you.
So, we have a slogan at HPN. It's relationships matter. We are extremely tight with our hotel supplier, especially our global sale representatives for really all of our brands. But we really have a special relationship with Paul and Benchmark. And what's really cool, Paul, about Benchmark as a brand and as essentially a management company, you have a portfolio of some really cool hotels that maybe the average traveler or even the average meeting planner might not know that they were a Benchmark resort or hotel, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously the Hotel Valley Ho is a Benchmark hotel. So thank you, Paul, for giving us an opportunity to come together. And I know you had a part in planning some of this in terms of, hey, we can host meetings and we can do it safely. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Benchmark as a brand? How many hotels you have? Do you want to pick out a couple of cool destinations and hotels or resorts that the average person may not know as Benchmark?
Absolutely. So first of all, thanks for having us here. It's just awesome to see you, Desi, and everybody. A lot of us here have grown up in the business. We haven't grown up maturely, but we've grown up. But we've gotten older. You guys are relationships matter. We all know that in the industry, everyone out there listening. And with Benchmark, we'll be the difference. So we've just built this great relationship with everybody out there. Patrick, just want to allow Mr. 12% on stage, so don't forget about that 12%. I got to plug it. But no, we've got a great portfolio, not including our private centers. We're just around 43 properties across the country. We've got some great locations. I was taking some notes. Desi, you brought up outside, okay? And, Harold, you're talking about buyouts. So there's a couple of things. John Mack, one of our regional vice presidents, we've got the Hawks Cay Resort we picked up in the Keys. So he wanted me to tell you that we have 100 square miles of outdoor meeting space. So right? I don't know who else has that. So, you look at that. And then we, Tino and I talked to Maria, we talked about Turtle Bay, the North Shore, 900 acres, to go out to. And, there's a lot of, social distancing there. So, and then we just opened up recently, just a shout out to our Margaritaville property, down in Houston, just outside of Houston. And they're just doing a great job. So we've got a lot of different great areas. We just had a great program. We talked about programs that we've completed. The Abbey Resort up in Wisconsin, right on Lake Geneva. Just a great little location. You got a little drive sometimes to get to where we need to be. But right now, I think that people are willing to do that, to have that outdoor space. And that's 450 people on an incentive trip. So that was a really good accomplishment for us too.
Yeah. So speaking of Benchmark specifically, again, let's think about our audience here. I've said this before. I'm not looking at the exact number, but we typically have a pretty good following of meeting planners that are here. You've took some notes you mentioned today. In terms of what hasn't been said or a thought that hasn't been given, if I'm a meeting planner and I am considering planning or bringing my meeting, whether it's been contracted yet, and am I going to consider a cancel, or it's a new meeting opportunity? What, just based on your background and what you know about your hotels and your brand, what advice would you give them? And what things would you have them think about?
Well, Harold, when you and Dahlman joined us for a Benchmark presentation, you talk about the relationships that we have, all of our clients, and you guys both talked about listening. Okay, so we really, talk about listen to our clients, what they need, what they want to have happen at the properties. So I think it starts from leadership from our executive team all the way down to everyone that's involved. We have 13,000 employees within our company, and everyone, again, be the difference, knows what we want. So when we talk to our clients, we're really listening to what they want. So when we talk about all these things that Jesse talked about today, and what you're all experiencing with your clients, is that we just want to make sure that we adapt with them. So again, that relationship that we all have, that we just want to make sure that we're listening, that we're following the protocols that were set. And there's not really much to add. I mean, Jesse did a great job going through everything that you saw here, and you can know that all of our properties are doing that. So We're just really making sure that we're listening. And, one of the things, Harold, we talked about before is like with our accelerator program to get business back, we specifically talked to HPN. Your top people said, what are you looking for? Okay. Again, we'll go back to the, hey, we're giving you 12% because we know that you're just as hungry as we are to get back in the business. And now doing this live event is so huge for us is because now you're going to go tell all of your clients. Mario doesn't have one client. He's got 100 of them. So he can say, yeah, Valley Ho did this. Benchmark is doing that. And, this is just a great opportunity for us to get out and meet again.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually a perfect answer there, Paul. So, Paulie, let me ask you this: with you, not only Hotel Valley Ho, right, but Benchmark is a brand. You have hotel brand standards for safety and cleanliness that Benchmark's rolled out for their portfolio of hotels. Then the individual hotels take that as their template, and they'll take that and run with it, like I'm sure Jesse's done there at the Hotel Valley Ho. Have you seen any in the last 6 months? Are there any ahas that have or learnings that have come out of in the cleanliness and safety space from a group that we've had on? Anything that's come out of a group that has consumed, and at the end of that group, at the end of that program, you as a brand or a hotel said, you know what, this was a learning here, and we'll implement a change moving forward. Anything that's surfaced?
Yeah, watching Jesse today and doing the Clorox fogger, that was great. Just learning new stuff like that, as Dalton's chuckling over there. But we've had some great success. The smaller programs. Jesse talked about going down to 75. Lansdowne, just outside of DC. We're getting a little pickup with a couple pharmaceuticals. It's like, hey, we're bringing in 25 room nights. See how we did it this way. Now they just signed another contract for 50. Okay, and if they're out there listening, we have 1,200 on the line for December busing. So that's what we're looking for. Is again, it gets back to that. I think is listening and just knowing what the client wants. We know there's a lot of concerns. So we've had a lot of different ideas. We were talking about educational programs. Tino and I, Maria and I, were talking about at lunch. And, some people won't be comfortable in this general session like this. So we got a couple of our properties that, okay, the people who are comfortable here are here. They want to be in the property, they can be in the rooms, and we'll do this live feed into their TVs so they can be comfortable in their sleeping room. But then at night, they can social distance and still feel like they're part of the company. So I thought that was a really, really cool moment. And that, those are the things that we're trying to talk about every day.
That's a great idea. And I heard another one, which was something to the tune of, it's all about like exposure and your comfortability, being around people and whatnot. And one thing that I think is going to be a big challenge for us is identifying how do we operate a happy hour and or reception, safely distance and whatnot, because, you have a cocktail, you get a little comfortable, but then maybe happy hour from your room could be a good option because, if you've got the mini bar or you've got, drinks delivered, it could be easy to operate that way. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So in closing, Paul, anything else you want to offer to the audience or the group just about either Hotel Valley Ho specifically or any hotels in your portfolio?
Sure. Well, there's no one that's happier about getting these properties in the Valley than me. As a lot of you know, I was at the Scottsdale Conference Center since 5 years old and started working. Yeah. So it was just great to have, partners like this, and it's great to have you to come here and see it. Abby and Jesse and the team, I've got to give her full credit. I'm taking this on the road. Okay. So she came up with this great idea, and I called up, my boss said, Eric, we should probably think about doing this. So, off the top of my head, we know that there's about 22 HPN account executives down in Florida, the Orlando area. Get them over to Hawks Cay for a day. It's a drive-in market sometimes now. We start looking at taking this on the road. We're going to do DC. We're going to do California. We'll get you up to Turtle Bay, John, eventually. But we really see this as an opportunity to work with you and get your account executives to visit us. And as we all know, once you come to the property, now you can tell everybody that Valley Ho absolutely did a great job and very proud to be part of this team.
And that we had a safe meeting.
A safe meeting, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Paulie, hey, stick around for a moment. But I want to just go ahead and close and give you a round of applause and thanks for joining us here today. You know, the one thing that the goal here is to bring meetings back, right, and to bring them back fast. You know, we here at HPN Global, we're here to help. And if you find yourself in a scenario where you need help with the program, we want to make sure that you email us at help@hpnglobal.com for us to assist. Desi, we got a couple of questions here, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I'll just, make a mention as a timekeeper. We've got about 3 minutes left, and we usually do these for an hour, but I think we should definitely address a couple of questions, and we'll kind of see how it goes. And anyone that needs to jump off, of course, we're not offended. But
well, yep, just 2 questions, and we'll be cognizant of everyone's time, and we'll go ahead and we'll close the webcast here. But I had several questions around anyone that's actually sick, if you will. That's probably just a bad word there, but for lack of a better word, anyone that has either failed a temperature check or has started to show signs or symptoms that will be in the space of COVID. Paul, do you know if you had any of your hotels, or maybe Jesse there? I don't know how far Jesse is away. Have you had to put in a protocol where, hey, you know what, someone is sick, we need to quarantine them, or we need to execute whatever protocol we have around that?
We do have a protocol set up to this date. Right now, we haven't had a situation, so we've been very lucky in that sense. But we do have all the protocols that we have, and everyone's talking about it daily to make sure everyone's safe. And so we're just following those rules.
Yeah, and that's going to be extremely important from a planning aspect too. Of course, the hotel is responsible for the hotel, and then a group comes in, the group's responsible for the group. So making sure that you're collaborating with your venues on, understanding what your plan is as a hotel or venue, and then also here's what our plan is as the planning staff, and here's how we plan on operating this, and what we're going to do to support this attendee that obviously is not feeling well, and also minimizing exposure for everybody else that will be in attendance.
Yeah, for sure. Next question here. There's some questions about flexibility in 21 for new business, and then also for business that's already contracted. Let me lead you into my thought before I throw this to you, Paulie. What we have seen is for our clients that are kind of on the fence about Q1, Q2, programs for 21, we then take that approach to the hotel to express the concern. And I think at that point in time, the hotel as well as us will agree, hey, let's go back to the client and the meeting planner, and let's first go down the road of hey, have some semblance of a program, and we will work with you on any performance metrics that are in the contract, whether it be attrition, food and beverage minimum, et cetera. So I had a few questions around the flexibility, not only Hotel Valley Ho, but benchmark. Are you seeing scenarios like that, Paul?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, we have our accelerator program with Benchmark. Again, we got with the top people, strategic partners right here at HPN, that we wanted the clients to be comfortable. So we are offering, no attrition, cancellation, only 60 days out type deal. We have the plan out there that, we're just making sure they feel comfortable that they want to sign. And we have had success with that. The one thing that, it's been kind of weird is that we haven't been able to share a lot of the successes. A lot of people don't want to talk about, well, my company did this or did that, but they're starting to look at it, and hopefully it'll come out of it. They want to talk about it more because this is a great thing to share. So with the plan, we want to make sure that they know that they have, the attrition and cancellation, that they'll be at ease, that they can book in advance, and that we're going to work. And Harold, you mentioned like with other contracts, nothing's the same. Everything's different. So you're going to have different meeting planners, different decision makers, different feelings. So as all of us here in this room, we just adapt to each situation. So everything's not going to be the same. It's going to be different every time.
Good. Well, listen, hey, again, Paul, thanks for joining us. Thank you to Hotel Valley Ho for being our host. Thank you, audience, for tuning in. We was thrilled to have you here today. And Des, anything to close us out here?
I just want to let you know that Bill, our fearless CEO, is looking for us to go a little longer. If you've got any other questions that you can identify that are super important, take a quick scroll through there.
I'm scrolling, and I think that it's a wrap. We're at time. Let's let everyone get back with their days. And bye from HPN Global. And
yes, thank you so much for joining us today. We are obviously supporting how we can move the industry forward with safe meetings. We've done so today, and we're excited to collaborate. So let us know if you need any help at all, help@hpnglobal.com. And stay safe. And thanks again for joining. We'll see you soon. Good to hang out, Harold.
great seeing you, Des. Take care. Bye.
From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Smoking big cigars. I hope you're ready for what's coming now. I'm the one on the lady that will bring you down. There's a joint on the corner where the big boys play, where the whiskey's running like the river, but they all never come for the booze and bass. I'm the one, I'm the lady that'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place.
From the beginning. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place.